But up next, we have critical insight. So Mike and Jake, I will pass the mic to you.
Hey,
And
thank
we
you.
are seeing your next slide in your notes.
We're seeing the presenter screen.
So if you click on display settings,
I see
right
no
next to the show
display settings.
taskbar,
Oh, is that?
over to the right, just a little bit. Yep, click there
There we go.
and then swap.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I'd
go.
hate for you to see my next slide and know what was coming. Oh my God.
And hey,
I would ruin
do
the whole
wanna,
thing.
Right. Hey, Tobias, you were right, by the way. There is, in fact, a cybersecurity company with the same name.
That's right.
But I didn't want you to feel like, holy cow, we're going to go this whole time without hearing from a cybersecurity company. So we are here for you, man. We are here specifically for you. So my name is Jake Milstein. I do a lot of healthcare speaking, and I'm going to talk for a second about the American Hospital Association Rural Conference last week. Before I do, Mike, you want to tell them who you are?
Sure. Mike Hamilton, and I've got about 30 years in information security, long before the cartoon word cyber was invented. And I've got a bit of experience in emergency management as I was the chief of information security for the city of Seattle for about 8 years. And was called to the EOC every time there was 2 inches of snow, resulting in complete paralysis of the city. So I have got a little bit of context here.
And so last week I went to, and Mike, next slide, went to the American Hospital Association conference. And one of the reasons that I went is, so I don't know if you all know a guy named John Ricci. So American Hospital Association goes out, says, hey, we need a cybersecurity expert. Hospitals are getting knocked out with ransomware. We need a real person to handle this. They hire a guy named John Ricci, former FBI, 30 years in the FBI. And John says, well, this is crazy. There are 1,200 cybersecurity companies, one of them named Paladin. And we and how could hospitals, how could healthcare organizations possibly choose which one? So John goes out, interviews a bunch of cybersecurity companies, and decides on the ones that the AHA is going to say, these are our preferred providers. And Keith puts in the chat, John Ricci will also be speaking at the virtual conference this year. He's amazing. Go to that speech. So John picked us as the first, and he picked us because of our depth of knowledge in healthcare, the number of healthcare clients we have, the investment we have from healthcare, and he looked at our financials and all that, and and John loves us and we love John. He invited me last week to speak to the AHA Rural Conference in Phoenix. 2 stories from there that I think are really important today. One, CEO of a hospital came up and told me they got hit with ransomware about 1.5 years ago. They were not prepared for it. Their preparedness plan, they didn't really pay attention to. They had one that had been on the shelf, but because they had so many workers at home, they hadn't updated it. They got their computers and everything back online 3.5 months later. And so they were on paper for 3.5 months. Impacted patients, impacted billing, and continues to impact the hospital to this day. And so one of our goals is to help people avoid that. And if something bad happens, react appropriately. Another hospital that came to present, they got also hit, they're in Oregon, got hit with ransomware, took down the system, and they had a plan. Actually, this was in Michigan. They had a plan. They had a good plan. They hadn't practiced it recently, and they didn't follow the plan. And so what happened is they had a bunch of people doing the same things, and that slowed down their response. And they said they probably lost a week or 2 in doing that. And so I want to start with those two things that have happened in the last year. Mike, next slide.
Okay, so just in case you thought Jake's story there was a one-off, it's not. This is going on every day. Hospitals have been targeted. There are a couple of gangs, notably coming out of Russia and Eastern Europe, that specifically go after hospitals. And the reason is because they're super critical. our company preferentially works with organizations that we consider to be critical at the scale that we live our lives. So that's a lot of local government. That's water purification, waste treatment. That's making sure the fire department gets to your house on time because they run the communication system. But it's also the health sector, writ large, the health sector. We just published our twice yearly healthcare data breach report. And a lot of people, all of this cyber language, it's just confuses everybody. So yes, we're talking about hospitals that keep getting shut down because they are being extorted. Okay, Jake keeps saying ransomware. If you don't know what that is, it's software that hits your network, looks around for the good stuff, steals a bunch of records first, encrypts everything so that you can't operate. Okay, well, that's great definition. If you want to encapsulate all the cyber stuff, there's three things you're trying to avoid here. Number one is unauthorized disclosure of protected records, the dreaded data breach. Number two, theft and extortion. Theft through something called business email compromise that you may or may not have experienced. Hey, somebody's trying to get us to change a bank routing number, etc. And the third one is disruption. So, you don't want to lose records. You don't want to have money stolen or be extorted, and you don't want your network just knocked down. Well, right now, the geopolitical tensions that are happening over on the other side of the world are starting to get people real nervous. And the FBI and CISA, the Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, are directly warning hospitals. This could be coming our way. So strategically, if another country wanted to really give us something else to worry about other than what's happening over there and what our troop movements are and things like this, they start knocking down hospitals and they make it look like it's organized crime. Well, it's not. So the warnings are out all over the place. Emergency management. So, I've been through the National Incident Management System training. And like I said, we practiced for earthquakes, asteroid strike, you name it. And snowstorm was the only thing that we ever activated the EOC for. But emergency management and health has now got to take into account all those other things that we worry about all the time, including pandemics, but now this cyber attack business. So incident response, what we do to put things back together when this stuff goes down, and emergency management have to converge in the health sector during one of these events. Right? We're trying to take care of people. The mission of the hospital, the health sector, is patient care. Patient care is being affected by these events. We've all probably read about, there have been some deaths attributed to hospitals getting knocked down. And there are actually some of these criminal gangs that when they find out that their business model of ransomware as a service has affected a hospital, they give a hospital a free decryption key to get them back. Well, they still got knocked down for a while. So it's important that our emergency planning take this kind of thing into consideration. So again, records disclosure, theft and extortion, and service disruption. And that disruption may or may not be for the purpose of extortion. It may just be to knock you down. So what happens? Well, you lose records. Okay, you're going to be in the HIPAA wall of shame. You're going to end up an hour, twice yearly report. Theft through business email compromise, you're going to lose money. Those are bad. There's additional regulatory action that could come, fines. There's brand damage. Lately, there have even been class action suits. So in particular, what's an example? Like Scripps Health. Scripps Health did a phenomenally bad job of communicating during an event where their ability to operate was taken down. And now patients are suing in a class action. Okay, well, that's something to worry about. But these operational disruptions can be through a denial of service where somebody is just throwing so much data at your internet perimeter that you can't move anything back and forth across that point. Or it can be this ransomware business where your entire network is encrypted. You are not going to be able to operate. There will be no electronic health records. There will be no ability to bill. Your phones may be down. Patients are going to have to be redirected. all the planning needs to take these things into consideration for a cyber attack. So best advice we can give anybody is this: to prepare for this, monitor your network. Preventive controls are going to fail. Your antivirus and your email security and your firewalls, they get sliced through really routinely. 75% of these events start with somebody giving away a password because they get fooled into something. And your firewall is not going to do anything for users that want to go trip over things on the internet. If you monitor your network, you will be able to see the signal that your preventive controls have failed and put out that little fire before it gets big, so that you don't have to start redirecting patients. Monitor your network is probably the best advice for preparation, but you're going to need emergency data procedures. Buy a bunch of number 2 pencils, have them handy. Backup communications. What are you going to do if your phones are down? Shut down and start up. So you have to bring computers back up in the right order or things don't work. Incident response and communication plan. Again, scripts, horrible job at communicating and resulting in a class action. The ability to move cryptocurrency, because if you're a hospital and you're being extorted, the fastest way to get back on your feet is maybe to pay these people off. So your ability to move cryptocurrency is good planning advice. And then these interlocal agreements for patient redirection. If all that is worked out beforehand, you're going to land in a better place. So there's a little bit of emergency management meets cybersecurity. Jake, what do you want to say about this?
And so, so these are our services. So on the left are the things Mike talked about. So some cybersecurity companies just do sort of one thing. We do the whole circle. We help with incident preparedness. We help build response planning. We help with, how are you going to rapidly quarantine what you have? We help you with tabletop exercises. The bottom arrow down there, the active incident response. One of the things we're finding is the number of hospitals and organizations saying, you know what, something's going to happen. We need somebody on retainers because, when the kitchen's on fire is not when you want to be looking for a fire extinguisher. And then, and obviously we can help, if you just call the 800 number, we'll help anybody, but that IR retainer. And then in the middle, the 24/7 threat detection and investigation. That's making sure that you see the bad actor as soon as they get in. The average in the United States is 200 days. Before somebody sees a bad actor in their system, we help you get them out in 2 hours or less. And then on the right is our consulting side, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. It's really the stuff on the left. But really what we provide that's different than others is, and why the American Hospital Association likes us, is we do sort of the whole gamut of cybersecurity services. Mike, next slide. And this is what I mentioned about American Hospital Association. I like to put their logo up because I run marketing. Next slide. And that's how you get in touch with us. So, questions?
Hearing no
Jake,
questions.
this is not a question.
Oh, Christy.
Oh, sorry, Anna.
Nope, go ahead.
Not a question, but just wanted, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
we can hear you.
I just wanted to let everybody know and remind people that John Ricci is going to be presenting at the virtual conference that is coming up in March. And so he will be presenting on March 3rd at 11 a.m. So if you like this topic and want to hear more, please tune into that.